Welcome everyone to today's Managed Casa webinar. So first of all, why did we come up with a new invoice module? We're serving rental clients and we're serving association clients. In the lease or rental scenarios, it's really not common to create a lot of invoices, especially for rent. But you need to create invoices when you want to charge for repairs, utility expenses that the tenant needs to cover. In the association scenario, you do have monthly, maybe quarterly, maybe annual dues, and you want to create an invoice for that. And you probably also want to create invoices for special assessments and other one-off reasons. So how did we do this until today? The old way in Managed Casa allows you to create invoices. And it works well for recurring automated charges. You can send email notifications. People see their charges in the portal or in the mobile app. But if you want to create an invoice for one-off events, it's a bit cumbersome. And if you want to print an invoice or if you want to send an invoice with the US Postal Service in the US, it's possible, but it's not the most convenient way of doing this. The new invoicing module, though, on the right side, is much more simpler, more transparent, and especially for one-off invoices, it's a much more elegant way to create invoices. And we'll show this in a demo later. You are in control of creating these charges now. You can still do the old way if you want to have the automation working for you, but you can do both. You can customize your invoice. For example, you can assign certain number ranges for these invoices. You can now easily, in a guided procedure, print these invoices or have them delivered via email or US Postal Service. And then you have a nice overview of all those invoices. So you see and manage these invoices in one screen or multiple tabs, and we'll show you how this works. All right, I'll hand it over to my colleague Drew to give you a little bit more of the background and how we got here. Drew, over to you.
Let me turn off mute.
All right.
Exactly. Thanks, Uli. I appreciate it. My name is Drew. I'm part of the development team, and work hand in hand with Uli and the rest of the group here at Managed Casa. We're super stoked about the whole invoicing piece. Now, Managed Casa has always had a tremendous focus on accounting and a focus on how do we automate things, how do we make sure that you guys can do what you need to do. And one of the things we've discovered over the time is that, well, we can make it simpler, we can make it better, we can make it more streamlined, and that's truly what we're looking about, with invoicing, and we're taking all the parts and pieces that we've had before, and we're putting it together, and we're making it really super streamlined for you to do what you need to do. So, for example, when you're making leases, right? We've always had the ability to go in, and when you create a lease, if you're a property manager dealing with rental properties, you can go in, you can create the lease, you put in all the terms, and you click a button, and we automate the invoicing pieces. But that might not be the way you want to do it, right? So you can turn that off, and now you can invoice directly. So we know that invoicing is kind of the heart, the key. We're in business to make money, right? As a rental property or as an HOA, right? You need to collect those HOA fees. You need to collect those rent payments, right? And invoicing is the heart of that. And providing you different methods to be able to deliver those messages, those invoices out to customers, and let your tenants or let your homeowners know that, hey, I have to pay this invoice, right? And this whole invoicing module is part of that. And it allows you to do it not only on regular rent charges, but also you can schedule, special assessments and that kind of stuff. So, it's focused on the rental piece, and Uli, if you go to the next one, it's also, really streamlined for homeowner dues, right? So if you're an association, you've got 1,000 homeowners that you want to invoice. The system allows you to do it. You can do it in just a click of a few buttons. It's basically, I'll show you. You'll see. It's super, super easy, super, super simple. And even the automation of being able to send out, whether you do emails, whether you want to do it using managed CASA messaging, or you need to do paper statements, all of it is a one-stop shop. And you can even schedule, like, if you generate monthly invoices, you can schedule that monthly mailing out via managed CASA, and it will just go out to the homeowners every month if you want, and then you can change it at any time. It's super, super, super. We've tried to make it very, very super simple. I guarantee you, if you're doing mailing internally right now, if you're printing out invoices and you're stuffing the envelopes and you're putting the stamp, I just learned the other day, my wife told me that stamps are like 75 cents or something right now. It's crazy, right? That's a lot of money if you're doing it manually yourself. We work with a partner that does mass mailing, and we can get you mailing at a discount, which is why we wanted to make sure that if you need paper mail, if you have those types of users, the customers, homeowners that need a paper mail, we've made it super, super simple and economical for you to do mailing, and you can do it all in one stop. Let's go to the next slide. So why did we change? We've covered this a little bit, right? Our initial focus has always been, how do we automate? How do we make your life simpler, right? What we realized is, with automation, you lose a little bit of the control on yourself. You can still, like Uli said earlier, you can still do the automation. You can still do all that the way you want to do it, right? You can automate it. It can be a completely hands-off approach. But if you want a little bit more control, we've given you that ability where you can trigger off the invoices when you want them to be triggered. You can schedule them when they want to be delivered. You can even create an invoice and then schedule when you notify the customers in the future of that invoice is now available. So all of those things we've given you control over. So we have still lots of automation, right? And now we've given you kind of a way into doing it when you want to do it and how you want to do it. Okay, I think yeah. So just kind of a summary, right? So we're giving you flexibility, but also convenience, right? We allow you to create a single or a massive set of invoices at the same time. You no longer have to individually go create an invoice if you need to create an invoice. You can do it all in one fell swoop. You can actually, the other thing with the invoicing, and we'll show you, is you can see the preview of what the invoice is going to look like in the app. And because we're taking, I can go into the details, but I'm not going to. But you basically get to see, what you see is what you get. It's called WYSIWYG. So you can see this in the app, what the invoice is going to look like before you print it or before you send it out. Yeah, I think that's it. I think maybe we can go to the demo. What do you think, Uli?
Absolutely, let's do it.
All right.
Stop.
So let me share my screen here. All right. So, right. Uli, you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So Invoices now sits right on the left-hand side nav here. You can see Invoices. This is where you would go. This is a test account of mine. There's a couple of things that are new with this last release that I just want to highlight, which is kind of fun. Is we've had this for a while, where you can change how many records you have on a page. But we've enabled this kind of sticky pager at the bottom, which is nice when you have a longer list and you want to be able to see this all the time, where you can flip through pages and that kind of stuff. But that's true everywhere. I just wanted to kind of highlight that. So this is the main kind of invoicing page. This is very similar to what you would see if you went to our old accounting pages and you'd look at the list of transactions and you filtered it by income transactions. It's essentially the same. You can still access that data in the app. You see essentially the same information, but this is just a slightly different view on the list of transactions. We've changed around some of the ways we display filters. Like if I wanted to filter things for, let's say, last month, right? And I applied the filter, you see the filters are here, are just basically up here, and you can change, and you can change your filters here as well. The other thing that we've also added is we've added quick filters. So if you want to see, okay, anything that's outstanding, right? You just have to click that. Or I want to see everything that's paid. Or maybe someone's paid a portion of what was due. So I can quickly go in and see that, by clicking these little sub tabs here. At any time that you want, you can go in and you can just click the row, and what we'll see is you'll actually see what the invoice is going to look like. This is a mock-up of what the invoice is going to be, and you can download it, you can delete it, you can actually add your own payments here as well. If you know, oh right, Ferdy, he did actually pay me, you can pay that right here on that particular invoice. So we make it really easy to be able to track and manage these things right here on the screen. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's do a couple of different things. We brought up into more of the forefront the invoice number. That's a key part of invoicing, is making sure that you have a unique invoice number that people can reference, and that you can see if someone's going to pay you, what was the invoice number out of. And there's a couple of different things that we've done to make this easier for you to manage and to keep track of across the board. In general, under company settings, so if you go to up here in the upper right settings and you go to account settings, you can specify what your invoice prefix will be, and whatever the current starting number of invoice numbers you want to use. So you can specify that. And what the system will do over time is when it creates a next invoice and the invoice after that, it'll auto increment this number. So it allows you to kind of preset or even skip over certain invoice numbers if you want to. And the account settings piece, this is a global settings. So if we don't know how to generate an invoice number, we'll use this as the baseline. If you're a homeowners association or association management company, and you've got multiple associations, in this case, there's only one here, you can specify what the invoice number will be for that specific association. And the reason why you would want to do that is you're managing 20 associations, and you want to make sure, oh, I got this invoice back from John Smith. Oh, I don't know, I don't remember the property, I don't remember exactly who John's, but the invoice number starts with Ripple. So, oh, I know that's for Ripple Way Association, or if it starts with something else. So it's a nice indicator to say, who is this actually, who's paying this, right? So it helps me, kind of align that. Now, these invoice numbers are also fully searchable within the app, and you can search for the invoice, and you can say, okay, was this one paid or was it not? So it's available in the global search. It's available also in the index searching as well. But that's a key thing that that's part of this as well. And it's clearly shown here as far as like, what the invoice numbers are. All right, so let's talk about creating an invoice, and whether I'm creating a single invoice or multiple, it follows very similar steps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create multiple, just to show you how easy it is to create multiple. So when I click on create invoice, it's going to give me a choice. Do I want to create just one, or do I want to create a bunch of them? So I'm going to choose multiple. Now I'm operating as a homeowners association management company. So if I had multiple associations, I would have them up here as well. I just have one in this particular account. So in this case, I've got one association, and that association has 10 properties as part of it. At this point, I can just say, yep, I'm good. I'm gonna invoice all of the owners, and all owners, or maybe just the first owner. Maybe I'll just do all owners at this particular property, and I need to invoice all 10 of them, and I can do that, and I can just click on next. But say I had a special arrangement with one owner. I'm going to create like a single invoice, and maybe they're a board member, and because they're a board member, they we don't charge them HOA fees. There's all kinds of rules and stuff that people do. So this edit gives me the ability to turn off people. So it's going to, by default, it's going to send to all of the property owners in the association, but I can exclude them. So this is a list of properties that I could then exclude. Like I can say, yeah, unit 180, they're not going to get it, right? Maybe I need to do something separate for them. Maybe they just don't get it. So it allows me to exclude them from the list. Now, when I send out multiple invoices to people, I can just choose sequential. And when I use sequential is going to, again, use the prefix and the invoice number, and it will just generate, the next in line like that. And this is what we recommend. It's easiest to manage. It's easy. But say you've got a special assessment that you don't necessarily want to use the right invoice. We also give you the ability to create your own pattern that we'll use. So you can say RP special, right? As the first, and then say you want to put in the year and maybe the month, right? So you can drag in these replacement variables, and what this will do is the invoice number will be like RP special. It will actually look like something like this: RP special, if I could spell, 2024, because it'll replace the year with the actual year, and it will be 12 for December. Now, and this is, you would use, if you have these things and you want to be able to create your own invoice number kind of on the fly, the reason why we have these replacement variables is I can schedule this to run every month. And by using a pattern, that invoice number will change based on the year and the month, or even the day that it runs. Now, because I'm sending out, in this case, to 9 other people, it will add .1, .2, .3, just to make sure that the invoice numbers are unique. And I'll just leave this like this, and then we'll just see how this works. All right, so I'm gonna leave it like this, and then here's where you specify, hey, I want to invoice this on the 15th. Make the invoice date. It's going to be due on the 20th. So it knows that in the future, if I schedule this out, it's going to be posted 5 days before it's due. That'll be part of the automation that it does going forward. Now, there's a couple things that I can do here. If I want to just be simple in the association, when I created the association, I put in the default fees. I can just click this and it will look up what the default fees were for the association, and it will pre-fill this for me. So I don't have to do anything. I don't have to change it. I can just say, yep, I'm just going to send these the fees that I've specified. If there's multiple line items in the fees that I specified in the association, it will pull those from there. If I'm a rental property manager and I have leases for all the people in the building I'm working with, I can just use the terms from the lease and it'll pull those as well. And I don't have to do any extra work. If I don't want to use those terms, you have the standard way of, you can say, okay, well, I'm going to charge for HOA fees. Maybe for this one, I'm changing it. So I'm actually going to do 25, but maybe I want to add another line item to this. And I can choose anything from, maybe I can do snow service, right? And I'm going to charge them an extra like $30 a month to handle snow. And I can also charge a special recurring. And this gets a little bit interesting because I can say, okay, well, I want to have this run quarterly and after 3 times, right? I can create multiple recurring charges at the same time. Now, the first invoice will have both of these. It will include both the $225 and the $30 for $250. But because these things are on different schedules, one is monthly, one gets charged every month, and one gets charged every quarter, we'll handle that automatically. We'll handle that recurring automatically. I can also just say, I don't want to create this recurring. So in this case, when I create this, it'll create a scheduled monthly charge for my homeowners every month for 11 times, and just the one-time snow service. So within this invoice, you have the ability and you have the flexibility to create automated things in the future, and you have the ability to create one-time charges. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. I'm just going to leave it like this for now. The next section here is you can add your own notes. Say you want to be able to have something on the invoice that says HOA fees are great, and this is how we clear snow for you. Whatever you want to write, and this becomes part of the notes on the invoice. You can also attach PDFs or images here to be part of the invoice, and they also come with the notification as well. So we recommend PDFs. The system does we'll take a Word document or an Excel document and we'll print it into a PDF. But if you really, really want it to look like the way you want it to look like, we recommend a PDF or a JPEG, because then the system doesn't have to figure out what you meant in that really long Word document or that really wide Excel document. So PDFs are always the best. All right, this is what's really, really, really great about the new invoicing feature. In the past, you could do everything that you do here. You didn't necessarily. It wasn't always obvious where to do what you needed to do. What we now give you the ability to do is you can send all of these invoices out immediately, or you can say, I want to send it out 3 days before it's due. So you can, this is like if it's due on the 15th, it's going to send it out on the 12th. So you can kind of set this up to send this out to users. It will create the invoice at the time, but before it's due, it'll send out a notification. All right. I'm just going to say immediately for now, with our templating system, and we can get into the templating system, but you can create your own really customized templates, and it's a super powerful tool. Say you've created a template for transactions or just in general that you want to be able to send out, you can actually add those I don't have any on this account, but you can add those to the invoice itself. So it'll include that template letter along with the invoice. All right, so I can send out the invoice by email. By default, we only send to an email to registered users, people that you've invited to manage CASA and they've registered and they have access to their portal. By default, we want to be very conscious and not spam people, and people think that, oh, why are you sending me emails, and turn them off and that kind of stuff. We want to be very conscious of people and how many emails they get. So by default, we don't send out emails to people who haven't registered and haven't been on the portal. You can choose to say, send it to everybody, right? And you may want to do that if you haven't invited everyone to the portal. We do recommend that because it makes it very streamlined from a payment processing to accept payments and to have them use Managed CASA as a payment. This is the huge time saver. You can actually choose to send this via our real mail system, which is we use a partner that does bulk emailing, bulk U.S. Postal Service mailing. It's only available in the U.S. If you check this to say, okay, I want to send a paper invoice to my folks, you can do that. What we calculate here is what the estimated cost will be per schedule, meaning up here, I set this up to go to all my users every month. So this will create that scheduled transaction, that scheduled invoice. So the first mailing will be about $8.55, and then the next one will be about $8.55. We charge about 95 cents per mailing, and that's all in, that's all included. So we just have you say, yep, that's what I want to do. And then the third thing that you can do is you can send it as a Managed CASA message. And if you send it as a Managed CASA it goes to all registered users again, and it shows up under messages here. And it will include the invoice as part of that message. So you can choose that. This really gives you, you have the ability to pick and choose how you want to send this to people, and it's a really easy way to kind of schedule this up, send it off, and be kind of hands off on it. And the last check here is, say you've got users who don't always pay their bills on time, and you want to make sure that they always have like as much information as possible. And we have two different ways, or two different kind of statements today, or invoices. One is just the invoice. This is just the transactions that were created and what is due. And the other one is I want to see a statement of not only everything that I currently owe, these new transactions, but maybe I didn't pay stuff in the past. I want to be able to see those and see a total of those in that statement. By checking this, it will generate the statements for your homeowners or tenants. So once this is done, we give you the ability to kind of just review, and then, yeah, everything looks good. I'm just going to go create invoice. And it was submitted, and what you'll see is down here on the right is it's actually generating those invoices, and it's going to do the notification because I said send immediately. I can leave this screen. I can go to all my invoices. I can do all that kind of stuff. And you'll see these things popping up as they get created. And this is the, remember I used the plugin, and you can see the .1 and .2, .3, .4. So it's creating these invoices right now, and it's just populating over time. And then this will switch to generating notifications. Now at this point, it's actually sending out those emails because I said send immediately. It's sending out the emails to users. It's attaching those invoices, and it's also queuing it up with our partner to send out via U.S. Postal Service. Now, one thing to note here, these are all unpaid, and now for any of these, I can let's look at Ferdy here, because Ferdy had a partially paid. Because I said when I created this, create a statement, you can see this is now the statement. So it'll say, oh, I had this HOA fee from November here. I paid 125, so it reduced my bill. So it basically calculates how much was due. And now Ferdy got this in an email. It's already sitting in his inbox. I can download it at any time. I can see exactly what it looks like. I think if I click here, oops. Oh, I'd have to share. Hold on. I'm gonna switch my screen so you can see the downloaded invoice. So this was downloaded, and you can see it looks very similar. It looks, identical to what we showed on the screen itself as well. Let me switch back. Okay. All right. The other thing that happened with this, so we've got these invoices here. We have all the scheduled invoices. Remember, we said we want these to run monthly now, and these got created on a monthly basis. You'll see there's 9 of them because it didn't generate the 10th. I can go in at any time. I can edit these ones and say I just want to edit this one scheduling, and I can turn that off. I can do that also in bulk, right? I can go in from mailing. Maybe I want to say, okay, I know I said this last one, I wanted to do a certain thing. I can go in and I can change the future as well. I can change the settings going forward at any time. So it allows me to kind of do a bulk edit of the invoices to change how I want to send it. And it allows me to go in and maybe turn off, for example, a certain an invoice now. So all of these things, I can manage the current invoices. I can manage ones in the future. If I do click on the line item here, I see a preview of what it will look like. But because this is scheduled and hasn't been created yet, it's only really a preview of what it could look like once it gets generated. Once it gets generated, then it will look great. It'll also show me all the previous invoices that were generated off this specific one as well. Let's see. We also have filters here for scheduled invoices to help you search. Some of the columns here will also tell you exactly how it's going to be sent out, emailed and mailed. It's all visible here as well. So that's invoicing. It's a lot. We've done a lot. That's invoicing, and we hope you enjoy it as much as we've enjoyed creating it. And I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great to open up for questions. What do you think, Uli?
Yeah, we've got a few, and I can I can just read them to you, Drew. So the first one is how do I avoid creating duplicate invoices? So I think this refers to maybe the automated invoices from the traditional way of creating invoices or charges,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
manually creating additional invoices. How do I avoid creating duplicate invoices? The question.
yeah. So what you want to do if you want to start using this right away, you just need to make sure that when you go to your association and you edit it, down here in the fees and frequency, you just want to turn this off. If you turn this off, it won't create any new invoices. It'll turn off all the automation within the associations. It's just really a matter of turning that checkbox off and clicking save. You may want to just make sure, just to be safe, is with recurring. Recurring is where we have a list of all of the, as you can see, these are all the ones that were created. But if you had ones in the past, you can go in and in the new recurring, you can just kind of turn off the generation of those recurring of the ones that you had created before.
Great. Thank you. The next question is our HOA dues will increase in 2025. Can I edit recurring annual invoices after they have been scheduled, or do I need to delete invoices and create new ones?
So once there's if your HOA dues change every year, our recommended path would be to create multiple invoices, and then when you create, just like I did with these, is I said, okay, well, I'm going to create one that has a special fee on it. If it's the same every month, I would create one that recurs monthly 12 times, right? And then so that next year, when you're ready to go and you're ready to charge them, because your fees increase every year, you just create another set of 12 with the new fee. That being said, we do give you the ability to go in and you can edit any scheduled invoice to change it over time.
All right. Thank you. The next question is, where do I print an invoice locally? If I want to print it locally, where do I do this?
Yeah, it's super easy. At any point, you can just click download. It prepares the invoice and it downloads it, and then you can print it.
Very good. Next one. And yeah, we're good in time. How much does it cost to send a paper invoice to 500 homeowners with real mail?
It depends on how many pages you're going to send. It's essentially, oh my gosh, I'm a pro, I'm a part of the engineering team. It's 95 cents for the first page, 30 cents for every page thereafter, I believe.
I think it's 85 and 20, Drew, but it's but I admit I'm also not yeah, 100%, but it's in that range, right? And as you said, right, a stamp these days, a forever stamp costs like 70 some cents, right? And then you have to print, you have to fold, you have to put the invoice into an envelope, you have to carry them to the post office and all these kind of things. So so the first page covers all of that, and then each additional page is just a flat, I believe, 20 cents. I think, from all the feedback we're getting from customers, they say it's a great deal. It's a lot less than if they put a dollar and cents on their own times.
Yeah.
But
And
all
Uli,
right.
correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong. I think there's a help doc that's out
Yes.
there that talks about real mail and the costs and that. And what we do when you generate it, we do provide you a cost calculator based on the number of pages that we think this is going to be. This is an estimate, but it does it does do its best to calculate, even if you added a template that has multiple pages or a PDF that has multiple pages, we will calculate and try to estimate kind of what that cost is so that you will see before you hit save, before you go, what we anticipate the cost is going to be. Now, the other thing to keep in mind with real mail is sometimes you've entered the address is wrong, or it's undeliverable, or our partner goes through a series of checks to make sure that that's a valid U.S. postal address, that it knows where it goes to be, because we don't want to send something out. We actually don't want to charge you for undeliverable mail, right? So this is an estimate of what happens, and what happens is once we get notification back from our partner, we will only charge you for the letters that were actually mailed out. So if there's a mistake or there's some other error or whatever, and we'll notify you that, hey, there was an error with this, it was undeliverable, so that you can go in and you can fix it. But we will only charge you for mail that can actually be sent out.
Excellent. All right, we have a few more questions. One is, how can I control when an invoice will be sent? So I think that can I control, creating the invoice and sending it later, or before it's due, or how does that work through?
Yeah, so up here you specified what the invoice date's going to be and when it's going to be when it's going to be due. So you can either send it out immediately, like I said, or say say it gets created. In this case, it got created on the 2nd, for example, but it's not due, let's say, to the 30th. It'll create it, it'll make it available to the user, if they log into their portal or whatever. But you can specifically send out the notification, whether it's an email, whether it's real mail, or whatever. You can control how many days before it's due. You can control that here. So you can say, okay, I want to send this out. I want to notify the user 10 days before it's due. And it basically will hold back, even though you created it, it's sitting there. We're going to hold it back. We're not going to let anyone know. And then 10 days before it's due, we'll send it out. So you have full control about when the notifications go out.
All right. And I think this is a follow-up question to an earlier one is, after I create an invoice with an increased amount, what should I do to the recurring transaction set up previously? And I think that's regarding the increase in the annual association dues. Would it automatically update the amount? So the question is, after I create the invoice with the increased amount, what should I do to the recurring transaction set up previously?
So if you're going to increase it, we recommend you go and you update the recurring transactions, not the individual invoices. Once the invoices are out there, they're there. So you can edit them, but if you're going to if you edit a specific invoice, what you're doing is you're overwriting kind of that specific one and only that specific one. If you're changing them on a go forward basis, you change the scheduled invoice. You would go into the scheduled invoices, and then you would change them there. That's how you change on a go forward basis. If you update an existing invoice, that's updating as a one-off on that one charge that you did, as opposed to dealing with a go forward perspective.
Very good. Very good. I think that's all the questions we captured in the chat. So with that, thank you very much, Drew. Thank you to all the participants here for coming in and asking lots of questions. We hope this was helpful, and we hope you're excited to using this new feature. If you have any questions, we strongly recommend you also check out our help center. It has a lot of articles, especially on the new features. which explains these features in detail with screenshots and so on and so forth. We are also adding more and more videos that you can access there or in the application. There's also our 24/7 AI-powered chat that helps you with things in the application or in the help center. And again, the help center is help.managecasa.com.